your host, Grayson Brulte. Welcome to another episode of SAE Tomorrow Today, a show about emerging technology and trends in mobility with leaders and innovators to make it all happen. On today's episode, we're absolutely honored to be joined by John Wall, president of QNX. On today's episode, we'll discuss how QNX is helping automakers unlock what's next in software-defined vehicles. We hope you enjoy this episode. John, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
It's great to have you here. You've had a heck of a run at QNX. You've been there since 1993, and now you're leading the company. First of all, how does it feel?
It feels great. I mean, certainly not what I expected when I started at QNX. I started in tech support, what I would say was the most entry-level part of the company. It's been a great run. We've been owned by several owners. Every few years has been different. It feels really good to be where I am today.
And now that you've got the top job, what are your top priorities? Where are you looking to take the company? Because as you and I both know, the automotive industry is changing and it's becoming software defined.
Absolutely. So I think we have a lot of, I would say, very lofty plans for QNX, which extend actually way beyond automotive. So obviously automotive is our primary business today. We provide foundational software for the vehicle. We provide the operating system, virtualization, a lot of middleware. We formed some alliances with some big partners out there to provide more of a solution sale into automotive. So expanding from a component sale to a solution sale is very important for us. But I think beyond that, what we're seeing is, I think everybody acknowledges the car now is driven by software. Software is one of the most important aspects of the vehicle. We see it through all the actions of the OEMs. We see it through all the actions of the tier ones, tier twos that are serving those markets. But what's very interesting is the rest of the world is becoming software defined. It's not just automotive. If you attended CES this year, you'll see the automotive pavilion was all about robotics. And everything to do with robotics and AI. So we've long held the belief that automotive is the tip of the spear. Very, very complex market. You've got safety requirements, high level of security requirements, very complex software environment. It's not like a phone with one chip and a display. You have multiple ECUs, electronic control units within the vehicle. You have safety aspects. We consider automotive to be the most complex software paradigm or puzzle to solve, Gordian knot, and that the other industries are just going to follow. So we see my vision of QNX is to be the solution for mission critical applications in the world.
Fascinating. So mission critical, and let's go. We're going to send the CES theme here. I was there. And you're right. I made friends with more humanoids than I did humans. It was pretty impressive. And you saw a lot of really great breakthroughs in dexterity where they had the one that was dealing cards, and you saw a lot of dexterity there. So when we think about the world and we think about robotics, is it fair to think that QNX could become that operating system that the manufacturers build on top of for those new and emerging fields in robotics?
Yeah, I mean, that's our vision. Our vision is that there's more room in this world than for one ecosystem. And today the ecosystem is largely dominated by Linux, open source world. We believe there needs to be an alternative for some of these mission critical applications that require some of the properties that are strengths of QNX, which is high performance, determinism, real time, robust, functionally safe, highly secure. And to that end, we've launched an initiative called QNX Everywhere, where we are making our product available for free for non-commercial use. We're engaging with universities, we're engaging with hobbyists. We really want to start to grow that developer ecosystem around our product. We, for the longest time, have been considered a very closed ecosystem. We're now trying to open that up to bring a lot more visibility to what we do.
It's really smart. NVIDIA does a lot of the non-commercial use data. If you look at it on Hugging Face, a lot of those data sets are there to experiment. Is your data set currently available on Hugging Face?
No, not available there. We make our software available through our own website. And that's where people can go with one click. They can download our software for free. And what we're doing is we're opening up more and more of our source code as well. But as we expand these initiatives, our software will become available at more sites and locations around the world.
Because throughout the history of QNX, the company has been known for security. You've been extremely well known for that throughout your history. Is that one of the key selling points as you expand out from automotive into robotics? Is that is your legacy architecture around security? Since these robots are going to be interacting with our families and our homes, and they better be secure.
Absolutely. So security is a huge part of it. I think equally important is what we call functional safety. So functional safety being a very difficult standard to achieve. Our architecture is very well suited to it. I think to your point, if we're going to control a vehicle, if we're going to control steering, acceleration, braking, you want those same properties in robotics. So it's one thing when a robot is behind, a barrier, working on something, not interacting with people. But what we're starting to talk about is cooperative robots. So robots that may be sharing the same warehouse floor with humans. But we're also talking about robotics for surgery. I think if I'm, which is becoming a much more prevalent, that robots are being used for surgery, I certainly want to make sure that the system is secure, it's functionally safe, and that it has those properties I talked about earlier, determinism. The system reacts the same way every time.
It's interesting. I was talking to a doctor about the Da Vinci robots, I think they're the most popular in the world for surgeries. And he's explaining that you have to go through these courses and a trained doctor operates the robot. And I was like, well, what's the thing? He goes, less invasive, faster recovery. And then he goes, and what nobody talks about, which doctors, he goes, at times we're tired and our hands get shaky. The robot's hands don't get shaky. And he started, I can't recite all the statistics he was telling me, but the positive outcomes that it has is pretty tremendous if you look at it from a human level. So you have your core automotive business, you have the growing robotics business. How does the software stack change? Did you have to redevelop it for these new use cases, or how does that work?
That's the beauty, is these are all horizontal markets. These are all using the same product. So we don't have to change anything. The same operating system that we use in automotive is used in what we call general embedded, whether that be controlling a brake controller for a train, whether that's surgical robotic, whether that's robots, whether it's industrial automation, controlling conveyor belts in a factory floor. It's the same operating system. Now, some of the partnerships are different for some of the middleware. Some of the certifications are different for safety. For instance, in automotive, the safety certification is called ISO 26262. In industrial automation, it's called 61508. But they're very, very closely related. So when we develop our product, we actually certify for all the different safety certifications and all the different security certifications.
So to me, if I'm your customer, I was like, oh, that's a huge accelerant for me to have to explain to leadership. Okay, they've already got this all. Is that a huge selling point for you?
Absolutely. It absolutely is, because the biggest challenge, I think, today, especially if you look at automotive, which has been a proof point, one of the reasons that automotive has struggled with software within the vehicle is the lack of reuse and kind of reinventing the wheel every time they start a product. And I think it's been a mindset in automotive in the past. Everything's a project. I give you a spec, you build me this box, I put the box in the car, I hope I never have to revisit it, box works, whatever the function happens to be, the box works. It's getting people to think about their projects in terms of a product, that there's a life cycle to it, that you build upon it. You don't just throw it away and start new. And I think that's where automotive is improving, is the car makers are really starting to embrace the idea of it's a product, it's not a project. They build upon it. So the more you can keep things consistent and that the foundation doesn't change, the easier it is to leverage your assets going forward. So if we're dealing with a very large company that may be making many different products, not automotive. Let's say we're talking about something more in the general embedded market. The fact that they're not having to use a different product for all the different categories of products that they're building is a big advantage.
Because if you think about it from an engineer developer standpoint, it's a lot easier to write and ship the code if you can go across a standardized foundation.
Absolutely. So in automotive in particular, we launched a product at CES called Alloy Core. And this is a partnership with Vector, also a very well-known middleware provider in automotive. And what we did is we did a very deep integration of our two products to be able to provide that foundation. And the idea here in automotive is that foundation is not specific to any particular ECU. It's not specific to infotainment. It's not specific to ADAS. It's not specific to automotive or to autonomous drive. It is ubiquitous across all the different ECUs within the vehicle, provides all the foundational pieces, the operating system, diagnostics, thermal control, logging, etc., all the things you need to have in an ECU that allows now the car maker to leverage their assets across all their different ECUs and to be always working from the same stable base.
Is that one of the key reasons why BMW picked you for their foundation?
I think BMW picked QNX for their particular product because of our safety and security pedigree. I mean, foundationally, that's why they picked us. Do the car makers have a strong interest in this platform that we've developed with Vector? Yes. And the way I would describe it without naming any names, because I try to stay away from naming names, is the product that we developed, Alloy Core, this integration between Vector QNX, was a pull from the market, not a push from us. That's how I would describe it.
It's smart because the market demand. If you're pulling it from the market, not pushing the market, there's clearly a demand for that, and that says that you can scale. But the audience knows traditional automotive in these 7-year cycles, and consumers don't like 7-year cycles anymore. You can thank Steve Jobs and the iPhone. They want that refresh every year. But yet, when you speak to some automotive executives, they're still locked into this mindset of this is how we do things, this is how we've done. Is it starting to, are you seeing, since you interact with a lot of these large OEMs and automakers, are you starting to see a little more change than I'm seeing from my side?
Absolutely. I'm absolutely seeing a change. Again, it goes back to product versus project and the recognition that there are aspects of software that the car maker does not need to own. And the platform is a big part of that. And, you know, I know a lot of my colleagues and dislike when I say this, but we're really providing what I call non-differentiating software. So it's differentiating from the perspective that it needs to work. It needs to work well. It needs to leverage the hardware. It needs to be high performance. It needs to be safe, secure. But at the end of the day, a person buying vehicle A isn't going to know or care that our platform is being used there. What they're going to care about is the features that the car maker has built that delight the customer. And that's where they should be focused. And I think it's been a challenge for the car makers to really start to understand where is it that I need to focus my software development resources and skills. And I think it's been a very noisy market over the last 10 years where there's been a lot of, I need to own the entire vertical integration. I need to partner. Oh no, this company's doing it this way, so I need to do it this way. Or, hey, I got to bring in Silicon Valley to do it because they know how to do it. I think it's been a very noisy market. I think the car makers are starting to recognize that partnership in the right areas makes a lot of sense. And scaling across things that don't matter makes a lot of sense. Let's grow a platform. And to be quite clear, this Alloy Core platform, the idea behind it is that it gets a lot of adoption. It gets used by more. So it becomes a de facto standard in the industry. allowing everybody to kind of have that standardized platform that they can start to build on. And the equivalency that I would make is iOS and Android. Nobody's out there creating these new platforms. They build on them, and then there's the challenge. Apple is a fully integrated, vertically integrated solution. Android isn't. So I see something similar happening in the automotive industry.
No, I agree with you. The thing that one of the beauties about your platform, the QNX platform, is I'll use a developer term, plugins. You can plug things into the platform, and one of the new things that you came out with, which is really fascinating, is QNX Sound. And for all practical purposes, it's a plugin. What's the backstory there? How did QNX Sound come back? Because if you sat here, oh, we need a security plug. Yes, I know that's your heritage, but how did QNX Sound come about?
Yeah, I mean, I think most people don't know this, but we've always had a sound background. When we were part of Harman, one of the things that was very interesting about Harman as an automotive tier one is they owned everything. They had a speech recognition component to them. They had a navigation. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of the components to build a full infotainment system. And one of the teams that they had at the time was a company called Wavemaker out of Vancouver. And this was a company that did algorithms for acoustic echo cancellation, noise cancellation, sound enhancement, etc. And when Harman spun us out in 2010 to BlackBerry, they also spun out Wavemakers. And so Wavemakers is a small group in Vancouver, PhDs that do algorithms. And so we've had a lot of success with them in doing hands-free and engine sound enhancement, sonic boom elimination, like lock-up torque converters, road noise, etc. And so they started thinking, but what about software-defined audio? We're talking about software-defined vehicles, all these different features. Why aren't we talking about the ability to partner with some of the companies out there that do audio processing or do, things like Logic 7 within the vehicle or some of these other algorithms? Why not create a framework? We have all the pieces. We're the foundational part of the vehicle. We route audio. We control ducking of audio. So we have all this audio componentry, but we're not an audio company or a software company. So we came up with the idea that, hey, the next generation vehicles, they're going to be looking to leverage the power of the head units. The processors are getting more and more powerful. There's DSPs in there. Why not move a lot of the audio processing into these head units? And we're like, well, we have the perfect frameworks to do that. Let's get some partnerships happening. And so we've partnered with various companies that do this, who are audio companies, to provide this software-defined solution within the vehicle. And the beauty of it is, it can reduce cost, it can reduce wiring, can reduce weight, but also it allows the car maker to provide different experiences within the vehicle through a software update, which is what I think is very interesting to the car makers.
So staying on, I keep going back to it, but to the point, staying on the platform ability. So let's take, for example, very public audio company, Dolby Laboratories. So for example, could Dolby Laboratories build on top of QNX Sound depending on the partnership with the OEM?
Absolutely. The idea here is it's a simple plugin. We also have tooling to allow for configuration, for control of the sound. So we work very closely with partners like Dolby, exactly to do that type of thing. So the idea is to be able to, through a very simple interface, call it a plug-in interface, to your point, that they can come in, plug in their stuff, work with us to tune the vehicle, and have a whole new audio experience within the vehicle.
And you're seeing that experience emerge. You have a partner in China, a luxury OEM, and they've marketed as an immersive audio experience. So you got to walk me through that. Did you somehow put more speakers? Did you tune it? How did you get this immersive experience?
Yeah, I think it's really the ability to tune it in real time. I mean, you obviously I don't remember whether it's public, the name of the company, so I'll keep that to myself for now. But it's a high end luxury brand. There's probably a combination of a lot of speakers and the ability to fine tune the experience. And I think the framework that we provides for really easy tuning, which I think is very important in providing that experience.
And staying on the tuning, so is it you're in the vehicle? Is it tuning to have the optimal listening experience? Is it tuning for the outside wind noise, or how is that done? And does each one of your customers choose it?
All of the above, and that's why it's very interesting, because when we do the tuning of the vehicles, especially the demo vehicles that we've done, it's not just QNX. So QNX has a lot of expertise on tuning around wind noise, buffeting, because we own those algorithms. Acoustic echo cancellation is all about having a hands-free call with the window open and being able to eliminate that noise. But what we don't have so much experience with is actually tuning for, the level of the drums, the level of the bass, the level of the mid-range. And so we work very closely with whoever's providing the algorithms for that type of sound, and we work with them to do the tuning using our tools. So it's not all done by us. We do some of it. A lot of it is also done by the partners we're working with.
Would you say that the overall culture of QNX is collaborative, where you work with your partners to accomplish the different tasks they accomplish on your platform?
Yeah, I think so. I think that we very much have we don't have that not invented here, so we don't want to work with it. I mean, I think we're very open to collaboration. I think it's the nature of being an operating system that, on our own, we're nothing. Think of Windows with no applications. It wouldn't be very interesting. So by nature, we've always been very collaborative in working our partners with our customers. Also being the operating system, we're kind of the lowest level software to the hardware. So whenever there's a problem, it's automatically QNX's problem. So we've gotten very used to working very collaboratively to solve problems, working collaboratively to bring new experiences. So I think it's just the nature of the type of company we are.
Which is fantastic. Are you starting? I mean, obviously you have great global insight. Are you starting to see any interesting trends where customer A, B, or C is, and you say, wait a second, you want to build this and you want to build this? Wait, something's going on here. Like that, it's something they want to build on their platform that you've noticed a trend emerging?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably one of the biggest assets that QNX has, is that because we're working with all the automakers across the world, every geography, is our roadmap is not a crapshoot. Mm-hmm. Our roadmap is pretty well understood. We don't take a lot of chances. We're a small company. A lot of what we do is very targeted, and it's because we're talking to so many car makers. And of course, we see trends. We see trends across the industry. Alloy core is a result of trends. Software-defined audio is because of trends that we see. So we're in a very enviable position that we're not limited by geography. We work everywhere in the world, so we get a very good view of what car companies are doing.
What's the next trend that we need to watch for?
Wow. I think the next trend, and I'm not sure I would describe it as a trend. I'm always careful about this, because if you think about CES 2014, everything was about autonomous drive, and we were at the peak of the hype curve. Now everything was about robotics. Yeah. I would say similarly, it's at the peak of the hype curve, and it's coming down. For me, if I think about autonomy within the vehicle, I think you're going to start seeing a lot more features within the vehicle for safety. I think that's really going to be a focus. I think you'll see that car companies are even pulling back from L3. They're really focusing on L2+++. And there's lots of reasons for that. I think there's liability issues around L3 versus L2. So I think you'll see a lot more evolution around the safety systems within the vehicle. I think you're going to see a lot more AI assistance within the vehicle. I think the big frontier that is in front of us is, how do we take this AI goodness and use it for physical applications? So I think you'll start to hear physical AI a lot more going forward, as opposed to AI as a chatbot or AI as an assistant or AI writing your code. It's really going to be, how do we apply AI in a way that controls things?
You're spot on. I'm the weirdo that follows all the. That's what I was asking about Hugging Face earlier and playing with these data sets. And yes, you were seeing this massive shift. This is just from a developer standpoint of open source and language that you can build upon, and it's starting to grow. And if you think about it from our life, a Claudebot's great. It can run all this software stuff for me, but why can't it make my coffee for me? Why does it not know to turn the oven on for dinner? And so there's going to be massive opportunities in physical AI. It's going to be healthcare. It's going to be home. It's going to take over our lives, as you and I know. And the cool thing about what you're building is you're a software platform that's adaptable. So as robotics take off and all this stuff, it's like, oh, next thing you know, you're back on in a year, and your new microwave, it's powered by QNX. We're secure and it connects to your network. That's the beauty of this.
Absolutely. I mean, this is why you asked me at the very beginning, what do I see? The legacy I'm trying to build at QNX is not just for me. I want to see this company become a global iconic company that serves a purpose in people's lives going forward. And way beyond anything, I mean, I'll be long retired before, it starts hitting all those different markets. But, that's what I see. I think there's room in this world for something that interacts with people, that controls things that interact with people in a safe and secure way. And I think that that's the next frontier, to be honest.
I think you're right. And then a practical standpoint, are there limits today of where the QNX platform can and cannot go?
No, and that's what I think is really interesting is, in the past, when you thought about embedded systems, you thought about small systems, limited memory and whatnot. And so the products were built that way. They were built to run on low-end hardware. What we're seeing now with autonomy and with this, new wave of infotainment and entertainment within the vehicle is, deeply embedded systems that are that require a lot of safety also are high performance compute platforms. The NVIDIAs of this world, Qualcomms of this world. So, we put a lot of effort into our product in the last 3 years to make sure that it had the performance envelope to support all that next generation hardware. If somebody's spending $500 on a chip, they want all that performance out of that chip. So we spent a lot of time saying, okay, we're no longer benchmarking QNX against other real-time operating systems or other deeply embedded systems. We're benchmarking against Linux, the highest performance operating system in the world. We're going to match its performance, and we're going to match its scalability, which means we can run on next generation hardware that has 16, 32, 64 cores, basically cloud compute capabilities at the same performance level as Linux, scale 1-to-1 as you add new cores, support as big a memory as you can, but we're going to retain the determinism, we're going to retain the security, and we're going to retain the functional safety. And, I have what I believe is the best engineering team in the world for low-level software, and they've pulled it off with our latest product. So there is nowhere we can't go.
Which I love. Next thing, now I'm going to start the Linux kernel. Oh, I'm going to go build on the QNX kernel. And when that happens, you're a very happy camper.
Well, and the goal is really to grow the ecosystem to have people do that. You know what? Let's have an alternative. Our architecture is vastly different from Linux. We're a microkernel architecture. So very different architecture, lots of benefits to the architecture, especially when it comes to security and safety. Let's give people an alternative.
I love an alternative, and I'll say go to QNX and build the future as you continue to open source stuff or non-commercial. Try it, experiment. You want to build a business, enter a licensing agreement. That's what they're there for. John, this has been awesome, and this has been fascinating. As we look to wrap up this insightful conversation, before I go build, what would you like our listeners to take away with them today?
That I think it's important that the world is moving very fast when it comes to software. The world is going to get more automated. It's going to get more interactive with people. And that QNX is there to serve that market. We're there to provide the most secure, safe, deterministic products to usher the world into this new world of autonomy and more mechanized systems around us.
As the world becomes automated and autonomous, go build on QNX. It might be the future. Today is tomorrow. Tomorrow is today. The future is QNX. John, thank you so much for coming on SAE Tomorrow Today.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to SAE Tomorrow Today. If you've enjoyed this episode and would like to hear more, please kindly rate, review, and let us know what topics you'd like for us to explore next.
Be sure to join us next week as we discuss how 42DOT is building an end-to-end autonomous driving system.
SAE International makes no representations as to the accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. The information and opinions are for general information only. SAE International does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast.